Hello, welcome to St Michael's Hill. Thanks for joining me today. This is going to be a video in two parts really. Firstly, a quick layout update, and then following that the Q&A and the prize draw from the video a couple of weeks ago for when I hit 500 subscribers. Firstly, thank you very much for everyone who entered the competition. It's been great. There's been a fair few entries, which is really pleasing, and some interesting questions to kind of go through with you later. I'm probably going to get my face on screen for that part of the video just because it's a little bit more interesting. So there's been a fair bit of work that's gone on this month, mostly putting things kind of back together, getting the layout back looking kind of the way it should do, with kind of people and vehicles and everything back onto the scene, and a few little bits of repair that were required after the move. The other thing, which I have been talking about for quite a while, which I will show you now, is the fiddle yard. So I've actually made a fairly decent start on that, and I'm going to explain what I've done and how I'm going to use it. So whilst it will be used as a regular fiddle yard, there's going to be another purpose for it as well. So I'll talk to you about that now. So as you all know, this is kind of how the layout is, and until recently it stopped just here. Obviously it means that running anything is very difficult. It has to be kind of very short runs, and it means I can't actually transfer anything from the station lines to the marshalling yard at the back, or vice versa. So that's been somewhat frustrating, and I've always known that if I ever wanted to do anything with this layout, either that be take it to exhibitions or to kind of just run it properly and have fun with it, I needed to add a fiddle yard. So it was always part of the plan, but it's been a while getting around to it. But I've started the work on doing that now. So here you'll see a small kind of fiddle yard baseboard that's been put together. Right now it's just being held together by this super strong tape whilst the glue and everything that is holding it together dries properly. It's pretty solid now, so probably the next day or so I'm going to end up taking all this tape off and then giving it a good coat of white paint to kind of just seal it all, just so it's very similar to what I've done with this really. And then finally there's going to be a board that's pre-cut here, which is the same kind of dimensions as these end boards here. Just going to slot onto the end of the fiddle yard, and then I'll be able to kind of basically fill in the front, either with probably a bit of baton really, and then hang a cloth over it, and probably the same along the front here, just to kind of hide the legs, as I'll probably end up building for it, just so that if I ever do exhibit it anywhere, it looks kind of professional. In terms of what's going to be on this fiddle yard board, it's going to be fairly simple. I don't want to get into kind of too much. I'm very aware that I'm about to build a new layout, so this really just needs to be very basic, but I am going to use it for the new layout as well a little bit. So my plan at the moment is obviously to have a line coming from the platform lines, but have a point that comes on to give me another kind of siding here. The track that comes out here at the moment, I'm going to continue straight on and have a point here, so effectively it'll allow basically a head shunt to kind of take a loco from one side to the other, which is really the only thing that's going to be going from one to the other would be a loco. So that should fit in nicely. And then on the marshalling yard there'll be another point that comes off here and have a kind of a siding here. So effectively there'll be two sidings for the marshalling yard, one for the station end, and then a head shunt for locos, or I could use that for another DMU or something if I don't want to be kind of switching between the two. I was looking to see whether I could get a full DMU to kind of go on the head shunt, but it's just not going to be possible. The reason that the board is this size is basically that's what I had left available. So I had a few scrap bits of wood from when I built the kind of main layout. I didn't want to go and spend more money on kind of this 12mm plywood. It's not exactly cheap, so this is what I had. I kind of thought I might as well keep it kind of a bit narrower. I can then build like a baton frame, as I said, to kind of make it look kind of appearances wise quite nice, and then it allows me to have a few lines on here. In terms of wiring and points and everything, I will keep the points just manually operated on the fiddle yard. It's something that is really not going to be a problem. Obviously the ones on the layout are both electronic points, electronically controlled switches. I'll just keep I think we're going to be looking for 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of points, so it's a fair amount of money to go and get point motors and everything for that sort of thing, so I will probably just keep it as it is and run them manually, which will probably be a fairly easy thing to be doing. And then the only other thing I might look to do on here is just put a piece of track that I might use as a programming track or something, but I'm not sure exactly on that. The footer yard at the moment is not connected to the main board at all. I will at some point soon, before I kind of do all the track work and everything, put some locating bolts in, just so it kind of holds into the right place. So then in terms of the track work, obviously I need to kind of lay some either cork or foam, as I've done on the main layout, to give the track the correct height, at least initially, and then I need to fix the ends down, so I'll probably get a bit of copper clad or something and solder the track to it. I'm also going to try and do something similar on the main layout just to protect the ends there, so it all marries up quite flush, which is obviously the ideal. I said that the board would be used in some way for the new layout, and what I'm going to basically do is try out some kind of techniques. So obviously with most fiddle yards you wouldn't ballast them or anything like that, it would be somewhat pointless, but for this I just want to try a few things. So whilst I was fairly happy with how the track was kind of looking on the main layout, it looks, you know, fairly decent. I just want to try a few techniques, different ballasts, things like that, and then different kind of weathering techniques. I'll probably use this board as a kind of a test bed for that sort of stuff, and then probably some other techniques. So if I want to try anything else out, I'll just use this board as a bit of a kind of test bed for that sort of stuff before I take it to the main layout. I'll keep the wiring very simple. There'll probably just be a dropper wire at each end of the fiddle yard on each lane, and that will probably be enough, to be honest, to make sure that the operation is fairly smooth, and that'll probably be it. So it's a fairly kind of quick and easy job to get things kind of up and running, and then yeah, from there we'll look at kind of just trying out a few things, which I'll obviously take to the new layout. So yeah, it's a good progress. I'm glad to have it, even now with kind of the dodgy kind of the joint at the moment that's there. I can still run the trains in and out, as you saw in the opening clip. So that's it's definitely progress. So now on to the Q&A section of the video. Thank you to everyone who has entered the contest by submitting a question. It's always good to kind of have new things to think about, and hopefully some of these answers interest you. So the first question is from Martin Levine, and his question is, if money was no object, which single item would I pick up for the layout? So right now, to be honest, I think if money was no object, I would probably pay someone to put together some baseboards for the new layout, to be honest, or buy someone like Tim Horn's ready-made kind of baseboards and get him to kind of custom build or custom create some kits that I could put together myself, mainly because woodwork is my least kind of favourite job, and something that I find quite difficult, so that's probably what I would do if I had the money to do it. The next question is from Dave Watson at Dean Park Station, and his question is, where did I first discover railway laser lines? So obviously one of the prizes for the giveaway is a £10 voucher for railway laser lines. I first heard about them probably when they first started, to be honest. I was subscribing to Steve Smith's channel, Thornley TMD, and yeah, he made an announcement on there that he was starting railway laser lines, and started with a three lane shed. So ever since, I've kind of been interested in what he's doing. I think it was Worley where I managed to see the 3-lane shed in the flesh. I was really impressed, and then at this year's Bristol Railway exhibition I saw his 2-lane shed, and I've ordered one of those that has arrived this week. So yeah, generally probably since the beginnings when he announced the company. The next question is from Hugh at All the Nudie Central. And the question is, what piece of advice would I give myself or a young modeller in the future? I think probably the best piece of advice that I've been given, and I would certainly pass on, is to just take your time and slow down a little bit. There is kind of a temptation to get things done quickly, and often if you do something quickly, it's not as good as it could be. It's kind of a hobby for life. If you're building a layout and it takes you 20 years, well then you enjoy it for 20 years. It's not really a problem. A little bit on this layout, it's kind of I knew I was going to end up building a bigger layout, and so this one was always a bit of a test of skills, and it wasn't something that I was not too bothered about, but I knew it had a finite life. I knew it was a fairly small layout, so yeah, it's moved fairly quickly, but I always knew it would be. And for the new layout, I'm taking a lot more time. I'm still at the planning stages now, really working out kind of what that's going to look like, and printing off full-size versions to make sure that things work in the way that I want them to. And yeah, it's hopefully going to pay off, having that time to do things right and kind of do things in the right order. If you can't afford, like at the moment, I think the biggest kind of expense initially is going to be obviously baseboards and tracks, so it's a case of getting the money to do that, and not necessarily rushing ahead with anything else in the meantime. And obviously with those things you need to kind of do them first, but for me it's just going to be about taking the time, doing things in the right order, making sure the track's all running properly before I move on to other things. So that's probably the answer to that question. The next question is from Martin Slyfield, and he's asked if there was one thing on my layout that I'm not happy with or wish I'd done differently. I think probably the first thing is the baseboards. They're just not, I mean, they're very functional. They kind of they work. I've not had any problems with them. They're built very solid, but they're not the most pretty. So I probably would try and do those a little bit better. I think already with the fiddle yard that you saw in the beginning of this video, I've tried to put a little bit more care in, but even that, it's just not quite there. I don't have the tools necessarily to kind of do the carpentry to the level I'd want, so it's a case of doing everything by hand, and as soon as you do that, things kind of are not as accurate. I think the other thing that I'm only partially happy with is the platform. So at this end, I'm very happy with it, where I've used the plasticard and the textured finishes. It looks great. At the other end, where it's a lot more just kind of plaster, not so much. So I think I would have taken a little bit more time, got a few more of those textured pieces down, because yeah, like I said, at this end, very, very happy with how it's kind of come out. The next question is from Tim at the Scrapline, and he's asked which aspect of building model railways do I like the most. I think for me it's about the track work and the scenics, so I enjoy kind of building up landscapes and kind of getting the scenics down on them, and working with the track. I think baseboards, I've already said, find very difficult. Electrics I find enjoyable, but difficult again. It takes a lot of time to kind of work things out for me. But when it comes to kind of the landscaping and things like that, it's kind of a lot more natural to me, so that's probably what I enjoy the most. Sorry, I'm having to cut away here a little bit. It's there's a road behind me, and when buses go past, it makes all sorts of a racket. So, sorry about that. The next question is from Jason at Barnabas Junction, and it's what is my favourite livery of all time. I guess my answer to that is probably the Great Western Merlin livery, and I think very closely second is the Intercity Swallow livery. Those two are kind of my favourite, and often I'd see them running together on HSTs, so it's definitely going to be something that on the future layout I hope to kind of model. And then the, I guess, slightly more modern one that you can at least see today is the EWS one. As you can see here, I kind of enjoy the maroon and gold very much, so that's probably it for me. So the next question comes from Richard at New Junction, and he's asked which part of being a model railway YouTuber do I enjoy the most. I think the answer to that is probably the social side of things. So when I first kind of started it, I was not worried, but assumed that it would be a hobby that I did on my own, and kind of kept me in my garage or loft or wherever I ended up modelling, and possibly away from other people. It's been a really nice, I guess, nice discovery that actually there's a big community now, and it's been wonderful to kind of meet members of that community. So as you saw last week, I've popped up to meet Richard and see his new junction layout. I've also through kind of various exhibitions met people like Steve Smith, Gary from Cheeky Tech, Richard from Everard Junction, Rich from New Junction, Jason from Barnabas Junction. So quite a few people, and it's been really nice to kind of get out and meet some people, and that's probably the best part of the hobby for me. The next question is from Lester TMD, who asks what are my future plans for the layout, and will I be going bigger with it? As some of you may know from my videos, this layout is pretty much done. There's not going to be too much done to it now, apart from, as I said at the beginning of this video, kind of just getting the fiddle yard up and running. The next project is to fill kind of this garage with a big layout, and details of that will be kind of coming very soon, hopefully, once the baseboards are kind of underway. John Piccadilly Model Railway has asked why St Michael's Hill as a name. When I was looking into kind of creating this, I was looking at kind of small stations, and one of those that I looked at was Yeovil Pen Mill. And there's a road very near Yeovil Pen Mill called St Michael's Avenue that I was walking up on my way back from the station, and it's quite a steep hill, so it was kind of, I picked it up from that really. So the St Michael's Avenue and being a hill, put it together, and it's somewhere where someone very special to me is kind of lives, so it was kind of a nice memory of her really, so that's where the names come from. The next question is from Tony Dock Station, who's asked if the new layout is going to be kind of open baseboards or a flat top, and I think the answer to that is probably a bit of both. So the plan that I have at the moment is probably not going to involve too much in the way of track being risen. Most of it will be some scenery kind of rising around a track that I want at a fairly kind of low level. However, there is going to be a section where the track will rise a little bit into a kind of an embankment. So I would imagine that for that section, I'll use kind of an open frame technique or something similar to kind of create the railway or the landscape being able to come down from it. But generally, I think it will be fairly flat. So I'll probably have mostly baseboard tops, and then open at one end probably, but that's kind of to be confirmed. If the landscaping of it changes, then I could well use open frame, as it's kind of always looks good to have a depth. And what I like most about this layout in many ways is the fact that the baseboards kind of drop down and the track kind of rises above it. I really like that effect, so it's definitely something I would want to use a little bit more. So we're on to the last three questions now. The first one is from Timber Surf. He asks, would I be putting lights in the buildings on the new layout? And the answer quite simply is yes, and they'll be controlled from switches. I quite like to kind of keep a lot of the controls away from DCC, just because I like the kind of the interaction of flicking switches. So a lot of that will all be run with switches, like on my current layout, and all the lighting and all that sort of stuff is run off a switch. Graham Collins asks, have I ever hit the wall on a project, and if so, how did I get past it? The answer is yes, all the time. The biggest one probably on this was trying to get point motors to work. I really couldn't work out how to do it properly. Eventually I kind of worked it out, and it was just through asking members of the community on RM Web or one of the Facebook groups, and just kind of doing it. Some of the other areas I get stuck on are just where I find something difficult, and the answer there is just to plough on. You have to kind of keep moving forward, and once you start something, generally it gets a lot easier. So that's what I do. The final question from Lucas Cruez, or Crucus, is what was my first 00 loco? The answer to that is a Class 58 in BR red stripe livery, and it's part of the Midnight Freight set that Hornby released probably back in, well, must have been back in the late 80s, early 90s. So that's the first loco. I still have it, it still works, and it's still going to be featuring on this layout and others in the future, hopefully. So keep an eye out for that if you want to see it. It's in the Meet the Fleet video, which I'll put a link at the top corner now. So there you go, that wraps up the Q&A. So the only thing left for this video is to do the prize draw. So then it's time for the draw. I've decided to go kind of old school here, and I've written the names of the 13 people who commented on the video with a question here, and I've assigned you each a number. So number 1, Martin Levin. Number 2, Dave at Dean Park Station. Number 3, Hugh at Al Hanoudi Central. Number 4, Martin Slyfield. Number 5, Tim at the Scrapline. Number 6, Jason at Barnabas Junction. Number 7, Richard at New Junction. Number 8, John at Piccadilly Model Railway. Number 9 is Leicester TMD. Number 10, Tony Docks. Number 11, Timber Surf. Number 12, Graham Collins. And number 13, Lucas Cruets. Each of you has got a number in this bowl. I'm going to basically just spin them all up and pick one of them, or pick 3 at random. The first one out will be the first place winner, second will be second, and the third will be the third place. I will actually pick out a 4th as a reserve in case anyone doesn't want or doesn't get in contact about a prize. To be clear, the first prize winner will get a choice of one of the 3 prizes. So they are a Railway Laser Lines £10 discount coupon, kindly donated by Steve Smith of Railway Laser Lines. This voucher is valid for 12 months, so if you're not interested in his 3-lane or 2-lane diesel loco shed that he has at the moment, you'll be able to use that on one of his products that he's releasing later in the year. I believe at the moment he's working on a TMD office and a fuel refueling point, which both look amazing. So I'm sure there's more to come, and you'll be able to grab something from him in the future. The second one is the Model Railways Direct £10 voucher. So that's an electronic voucher that can be used either online or in store, and that will be supplied via email. And the third is a scale model scenery 00 gauge line side kit. Line side signs kit, which I bought myself from Scale Model Scenery. So yeah, here we go. The first kind of prize winner who will get their choice of the 3 prizes available is... Let's try and undo this with my left hand. It's not the easiest thing in the world. So the first prize winner is number 8. So that's John at Piccadilly Model Railway. Congratulations, John. I'm going to guess that I could probably work out what you're going to pick from the fact that you model Engage, but that's obviously up to you. The second prize winner, who will get a choice of the 2 remaining items, is... number 9, so that's Leicester TMD. Congratulations. And the third prize winner is going to be... Let's go for this one. Can't get it open. There we go. So number 2. So that's Dave at Dean Park Station. Congratulations, Dave. I will pick out the final one as a reserve. Let's go for this one. Dropped it. This one here. So this one, to be clear, is if any of the 3 who've been picked out above don't claim their prize, then I'll go to this 4th place one, which is number 7. So that's Richard at New Junction. So I believe you won the last prize, and if someone doesn't want theirs, you'll be getting something this time as well. So congratulations to the 3 winners. Drop me an email at the email address below, or if you talk to me on Facebook or whatever, just drop me a line on there and we'll sort out getting the prizes to you. That is going to be the end of today's video. Thank you so much for everyone who supported me to get to 500 subscribers and beyond. I'm already at 540 something now, which is just mad. It keeps going up and up. So thank you to everyone who's getting involved and watching my videos. It does mean a lot, to be honest. If you're watching it on the day it goes up, Saturday the 1st of June, I'll be at the DEMU exhibition, and I know hopefully I'll be seeing a few people from YouTube there, and as it's also my birthday, I will hopefully be picking up a couple of things as a present to myself that I'll hopefully show you over the next few weeks on the layout. So I think that's everything from today. Thank you very much, and I'll see you very soon on St Michael's Hill. Thanks very much. Goodbye. As always, more of my videos available in the top left-hand corner of this page. This week's channel shout-out goes to Baggies TMD, a great channel that looks at model railways and airfix as well. Has a great Cakebox Challenge playlist, as well as one getting his layout ready for Wally 2019. Click on the bottom right-hand icon to go to his channel.